When does a sexual fetish become a mental disorder? How far does the fetish need to go before it becomes a crime? We discuss these questions as we take a look at the story of Gilberto Valle, a New York City cop who took his cannibalism fetish perhaps a bit too far. We'll discuss his online chats, his co-conspirators, and how this all played out in court. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you're a fan of our past episodes on cannibals, stick around. Let's see what this Issei Sagawa wannabe motherfucker has up his sleeve. Of the NYPD uniform he was wearing during this fiasco. This is Necronomipod.
Christine Gilberto Valle, or Gil, as his friends and family call him, says he's been living a nightmare for the past 3 years. We sat down with the now 31-year-old in his mother's living room, and he didn't shy away from anything. Every question I asked, he answered.
Something I lived with since, puberty. I was aroused, TV shows, movies with a woman in bondage. That's what aroused me.
So why not stay with just the bondage? Why escalate? 3 years ago, Gilberto Valle's long-kept secret was exposed to the world.
There are a lot of people out there who are aroused by a lot of weird things. No one would ever admit to it openly because it's embarrassing. But for me, it's out there, so I can't hide from it.
So I guess a little bit on topic here. I was informed just recently by my friend Brandon that Armie Hammer, the actor, probably best known for what, Dave?
I believe he played the Winklevoss twins in the Facebook social network movie.
When I looked him up, I recognized him. So
he was recently kind of related to today's topic recently in some hot water over some DMs he had with some females. And I think this is still alleged. I'm not sure how far this has all went, but in these DMs he's been having with girls on Instagram, he's been talking about being into BDSM, drinking their blood, cutting their toes, and allegedly admitted that he is 100% a cannibal.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So were these like unsolicited things he was saying?
Yeah, I think it might have been into some role playing. I just read the article quickly because, like I said, I had just kind of learned about it recently. But, just kind of the way chats were going and maybe even escalating to that. But he got to the point where as a major celebrity, I don't think you should be just admitting that in DMs to people.
Yeah.
We're going to have to change our game to F, marry, kill, and eat. Kill/eat.
That's a new one because I'm over the F, marry, kills. We've done so many of them.
F, marry, eat?
No, just eat.
People miss the F, marry, kills. We get comments all the time on different things.
Yeah.
Mike's done with them.
Sorry, folks. I've retired those for a while. The year-end show in December, we'll bring them back. Cannibal, missionary, and let them beat the shit out of you. How about that one? You have to eat one. One's going to kick the shit out of you, and one you have nice consenting missionary sex with.
Interesting.
We'll workshop that.
All right.
But that's off the top of my
head. It's a
head.
little raw. Might need some refining that game.
I'm just freeballing here. We'll come up with something. But yeah, so Armie Hammer is into that, allegedly. So I thought that was fitting.
Yeah, I wonder if it was if he got really weird with it or something, just kept it going in these.
Or was he trolling people that, DM'd him? That's the question.
You got to be careful with that. I know. Because then they just get those screenshots and they go out and no one's going to initially think, oh, Armie's trolling. They're like, no, look at this fuck.
Might be completely out of context.
Yeah. That's why I said allegedly. I don't know the story. But, yeah. So anyways, what do you guys got going on?
Not too much.
Ian, you were just sent a little gift here.
I was.
That's pretty cool.
This Jonestown action figure.
Custom made, I think.
Yeah, from...
Well, it just snapped in half, folks.
Well, there's that.
From Remakes Plethora on Instagram.
I believe it's Remakes _
Oh, fuck. Remakes from Remakes _ Plethora on Instagram.
I didn't want you giving free plugs to whoever Remakes Plethora is. Let's kind of throw that underscore in there. And to be clear, we heard that thing fall. Ian did not open that toy. It's in a sweet packaging. I'm sure it will stay that way.
It's in the original Flavor Aid packet is the packaging.
So you mean to tell me that it's custom made when I was a little kid, I couldn't go to Toys R Us and buy a cult leader killer action figure?
You could not.
Maybe that's something we should look into, like a serial killer, like an Ed Gein action figure.
They have
an
all kinds of stuff like
action
that.
figure, but do they?
But maybe for 2-year-olds, not for the adult market.
Fun for the whole family. Yeah.
Yeah, they have some really cool stuff on here.
A Robert Burdella action figure.
Like nipple clamps and wires included, or whatever the guy was up to.
Yeah, each one comes with like one like little side toy.
Yeah, they also have a website, etsy.com/shop/remakes plethora. All kind of cool stuff on here.
All right.
Oh, thank you. It's an awesome gift.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect when I opened up the box, but it's cool.
Could have been anthrax, right?
Could have been.
Can you imagine? What would you have done, Dave, if you would open it and like white powder flew out all over in your studio? Shut it the fuck down. Shut it down. Be John Taffer over here.
It's a great question. I don't know what I would do.
What would you do if you were sent anthrax?
No, if you were sent anthrax, but you opened it right here, all over, just floating in the air now.
Call the hazmat team, I guess.
Yeah. Just keep recording while hazmat's walking in through here. Record it all, put it out.
Test it to see, make sure it's not cocaine. We can package it up and resell it.
There you go. It's like baking soda or something. Like, remember when Michael Scott buys weed from the Vance refrigeration guys?
Fucking caprese salad.
They're like, it's a caprese salad. Wasn't there like mozzarella still in the bag too?
Like a tomato and shit.
All right, so we got this thing going on. Ian, what are we talking about?
Tonight we're going to get into the Cannibal Cop, Gilberto Valle. This one's different from other true crime stuff we've done. One, there's no victim in this, and there's nothing to really get into with this guy's childhood or anything like that. It's mostly going to be court documents, chat and email logs from Gilberto and 3 co-conspirators. And then we're going
to get into it, and I know we'll touch on all the crime stuff. There probably are some victims in this, just not with regards to the things we typically talk about.
No one is murdered
yet.
Which keeps our streak going, right? Going back into July, we've talked about one confirmed murder, and that was Dave Schultz.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only other murders that there could be, I think, out there that we've discussed would be if you believe Bigfoot and if he killed people. But obviously, we don't know. So we're on a 5-week streak of one murder.
Yep.
Unacceptable.
It's got to be some kind of a record.
We're also going to get into the website he was using, darkfetishnet.com, and then kind of get into this debate on what he did and when does a sexual fetish become too much? You go over a line, or when is it a mental disorder? Like where does it break that?
And also, for the record, I believe it's quite possible that there'll be a part 2 of this, a future episode detailing actual victims. I'd just like to make that known.
In like 5 or so years.
As in he will do something, or we will have discovered something.
I think it's quite possible that he will.
Will.
In fact, at some point in the future,
act on this.
Act on what we're discussing here.
Gilberto Valle was born in Queens, New York in 1984 and attended Archbishop Molloy High School. After high school, he went to the University of Maryland, graduating in 2006 with a degree in psychology.
Mike, so our Catholic high school taught us it was good to eat the body of certain people. Is it possible he might have got mixed signals that led him astray?
I agree.
Okay.
Every Sunday, you and I were eating flesh and drinking blood, right?
In the literal sense of the word.
Although I'm pretty sure they kayfabed us in fucking grade school and it was grape juice. It's like, you're not pulling one on me, you sons of bitches. I know this is grape juice.
I think back to doing that communion and drinking that wine and sharing the glass with 500 people is one of the most disgusting things I've ever done.
With that little perfunctory wipe that they do of like the tissue. Like, hey, motherfucker, you ain't cleaning anything.
You wiping that herpes off of the cup there, Father? Is that what you're doing?
Did I ever tell you the
So disgusting.
story of my first communion? It's not a great story, but did I ever tell you guys?
I don't recall.
No.
Woke up deathly ill, like flu. I don't know if but as a kid, you're like, oh, I just don't feel good. During the entire service, like the church service, I'd have to get up, run to the bathroom 4 different times to throw up in the middle of the first communion. Came back and, then you would have like big first communion parties. Everyone came over. There was cake and stuff.
Right.
I had to lay in bed the entire time, missed it all. Didn't even get the fucking cake. I wonder if the flesh made me sick.
Maybe it's your body rejecting the whole thing. They didn't want you to go through with it.
Can you imagine like all like the old church ladies in there that like, oh, look at all these sweet young boys and girls. And like I eat it and then I'm immediately throwing up. They're like, oh, Satan.
He's projectile vomiting fucking Linda Blair stuff. Or
the priest is like, the body of Christ. I just puke right on it. It's like the scene from Team America. I'm just puking all over.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, I didn't have a pleasant first communion. My body rejected it all, I guess.
Yeah, rejected the body of Christ, Mike. Not much hope for you, fella.
Gilberto joined the New York City Police Department in 2006 and was assigned to the 26th Precinct in Morningside Heights, Manhattan. In 2009, Gilberto met Kathleen Mangan on OkCupid.
Did you hear that new anti-vaxxer dating site?
No.
It's OkStupid.
Wow, so intolerant. Dave's cutting himself up over here.
So stupid.
I like when he thinks his own jokes are so damn good.
I don't. It's Ian laughing is what makes me laugh.
Well, it was funny. It wasn't that funny, but it was funny.
So Kathleen was new to the area, moving from Spokane, Washington as a part of Teach for America program to teach elementary in East Harlem. The two of them moved really quick. They moved in together. They got an apartment and bought a dog in 2010. So a year after meeting on OkCupid, they're living together. According to Kathleen, everything was fine until she got pregnant. And this would have been the following year, the end of 2011, maybe real early in 2012. When Gilberto found out, Kathleen said that he said, quote, "I can't do this."
Not the reaction you're looking for. So no gender reveal party.
For the record, how many fathers out there have said in their mind, "I can't do this"? You don't vocalize it. You don't say that out loud. You go through the motions, but it could be pretty terrifying.
Yeah, first time for sure.
I'd imagine.
You'd imagine.
I'd imagine.
She said that he showed little interest in the pregnancy and started to become detached from their relationship. By the time their daughter was born in 2012, it was pretty much like they were roommates. No real relationship at all. This whole roommate situation wasn't Kathleen. It was Gilberto pulling away. The court documents show Kathleen was searching Google for things like, quote, "how to make my husband love me."
Aw, that's sad.
Yeah. But, the documentary Thought Crimes, the HBO one, I thought it was really interesting. That journalist that made the point that Google is really just an extension of our thoughts, because you just type in whatever you're thinking and when you want to search stuff.
Yeah.
So if you compiled that,
and look at it as a whole in one single second, someone might look crazy, but those searches are over the course of whenever.
And then the argument that he brought up that Google knows us better than anybody else does, because you just type in your stuff privately on there, It's an interesting...
It is. We pulled Mike's Google searches on that one show, and there was all kinds of disturbing stuff on there.
What was that?
I can't remember.
I don't know. Sometime.
Oh.
But there were so many of them, like it just kept going on and on.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, think about how many times you Google in a day, or like just search on your phone or whatever, and it pops up.
I never thought of it that way. But when that guy said that, like, Google probably knows the real you more than anybody else.
Do you think that we should just start randomly and anonymously pulling Google's search histories and use that as a method to try to get public education reform in this country? Yeah.
I 100%
capital of the United States, or where is Canada?
What hemisphere am I in?
Right. Time zone am I in? Good God, people don't know time zones. Yeah.
No, they don't.
I'm just saying, randomly pick some anonymously, and then let's take a look and talk about where we can do better.
Like targeted adult remediation remedial type classes targeted geographically by whatever search trends or search results are trending.
I think we could learn a lot.
It's an interesting thing you've stumbled upon here, Mike.
It's the platform I'm going to use when I run for office one day. I want access to your Google history. People are like, fuck this asshole.
When I talk to the mayor about the Bigfoot statue in the middle of town, I'll bring it up and see what he thinks about it.
So while we're on the topic of Bigfoot, let's Google search histories. We want them.
Let's start with your wife, Mr. Mayor. Let's see what she's up to.
She said that whenever they did try to have sex, which was rarely, Gilberto couldn't finish and he would run to the bathroom.
She doesn't like that? Seems like a good thing sometimes.
In Kathleen's mind, she's like, what is wrong with me? And eventually throughout this time, Gilberto completely shut her out and was spending all of his time on the internet. Kathleen said he used to be on the computer, quote, until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, or just not come to sleep in our bed. It was either in late 2011 or early 2012 that Gilberto joined Darkfetishnet.com and became a pretty active user, using the screen name Girl Meat Hunter. Darkfetishnet is not unknown to law enforcement. There have been multiple issues with this website and people getting arrested for putting extreme fantasy into realities, using the site as a platform. The site is owned and ran by 42-year-old Russian businessman Sergei Marenkov. According to Marenkov, the site has around 57,000 active members, and 1 out of 4 are women or claim to be women. I kind of wouldn't be surprised if this was like an Ashley Madison situation where they're like bot accounts saying they're women. So I signed up for this site.
Ashley Madison? Angie cool with that?
Man, remember when those hacks broke? People were freaking the fuck out.
Was that the site that was like for cheating?
Mm-hmm.
You mean there aren't tons of like 25-year-old hot sluts that want to bang 50-year-old fat married bald guys? Who would have thought? It's weird. Is that site even still around?
Ashley Madison?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not.
Good answer. Yeah. Good answer, Pally.
I mean, I used to hear it advertised on Howard Stern every day, but
yeah, I don't know.
Not sure if it's still around.
They had a ton of leaks, right?
It leaked like all the email aaddresses and names.
That's right. Yeah.
That can't
Remember,
be good
because
for business.
I read a news article after that dropped, and it said like divorce lawyers, they're
cold
like,
calling the list.
They were fucking like all booked up with cases and stuff.
Unbelievable.
So I signed up for this site. I used my personal email address, which looking back on it, I'm like, why the fuck didn't I just make a burner? But
speaking of okstupid.com, you sign up for that one too. Why would you not just make like a random account on Yahoo or Gmail and use that?
I have no idea.
This guy.
Literally, your full name is in your email account.
It definitely is. I did not protect myself.
I would like to welcome all of the new darkfetish.net listeners who are now tuning in, thanks to Ian. We appreciate your downloads. Please don't fucking contact us.
So when you first go to the website, you get hit with a disclaimer. It says, quote, welcome to the social network where you won't feel yourself like outcast because of your, quote, dark fetish. Why? Because this place is created by people like you for people like you. So feel free to look around, meet some crazy, in a good way, people, and become a part of our growing adults only 18 plus community.
Well, I'm a fan of Outkast, so I don't know why they have to get shit on.
That's pretty rude, right?
Yeah, like, why are you taking pot shots at them for no reason?
Especially Andre 3000. How can you not love that guy?
Right?
Yeah, I agree. Big fan.
So basically how it works is you can't look at anything unless you sign up for an account. So as soon as you sign up, there's a main forum that shows new activity. And when new people join, it's public knowledge. Like there's just a whole board of
everyone.
things.
Please welcome Ian from Necronomipod to our page.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
Ian lives at 927 Main Street. Ian does not have a Ring doorbell attached to his home.
Hear him twice a week on the Necronomipod from Cool Down Media, available on all podcast platforms.
So, within a couple hours, because it's like I said, it's right on the front page. Within a couple hours, I got a friend request from a guy in Germany named Kevin, and he was looking for a male victim. His fetishes included torture and execution. He was real. I still have it open. He's 65 years old, or no, sorry, 56 years old.
Well, no, probably not, because most people, unlike you, Ian, lie on all of this information and don't actually put, like, this guy's in like Toledo, Ohio, and he's like 27.
No, it's actually like a hot 25-year-old just wants to fuck, but this is her fetish, just being a 65-year-old German guy. Works
That
both
too.
ways.
Either way, I think you're getting catfished, man.
A lot of his shit is in German.
So he really keeps the gimmick up.
Yeah, vivisection. I don't know what a vivisection is exactly.
Just like cutting you open and pulling your organs out, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Dissecting.
He wants to do castration, vivisection, sadistic surgery, make that into a snuff film.
Vivisection, the practice of performing operations on live animals for the purpose of experimentation or scientific research.
So maybe he wants to kill some animals before.
Well,
the live
Well,
part.
Ian, you're a live animal.
True.
So yeah, this guy sent me a friend request.
So Ian, I don't know if you know this, but he also left you a voicemail message, and we got a hold of it.
Did he? All
Thought
right.
everyone would like to listen to it.
Hello Ian. How are you? This is Kevin Vanderpuppe, your new friend from Darkfetishnet.com. I live in Germany, land of beer, sausage, and weird pornography. I was wondering if you would be interested in flying over to Germany to meet me? Maybe we could go put on some lederhosen and go to Oktoberfest, then come back to my dungeon, house, and I could hang you upside down by your disgusting American feet, then peel off your skin as I masturbate and listen to the soothing music of David Hasselhoff. Next, I will chop off your head and fuck your bloody corpse, then eat your penis with some German beer, and some fava beans. Anyway, nice to meet you and hope to hear from you soon. Dankeschön.
That was nice. He seems like a nice guy.
Very polite.
I can't wait to meet him.
What is this called in the office? I'm bringing that up again. Guten Pranken. It's good surprises. Good surprises. See that? You got a new pen pal.
Go
Your
over here.
lederhosen. Like over.
Can Dave and I tag along and just do, go to, what, the beer fest? What is it called?
Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest, that.
And then report me as missing.
Yeah, right.
When I end up dead.
We'll get around to it. When our hangovers are gone, of course.
It'll be like Hostel. Kevin will send us a picture of you. Oh, he's fine. It's just his head. They post his head, so he's having a great time.
So when you click the group section of the website, that's where you get all the fetish groups where you can talk to people and share this stuff. The categories are asphyxia, bullets and arrows, cannibalism, beheading, knives and swords, crucifixion, Amazon, gay, lesbian, trans, role-playing, torture, male victim, other, and burning. There's no category for rape on this site because from what I've seen, all these groups largely focus on rape to some degree.
It's interesting.
It seems like a universal idea on this website.
Crucifixion, I would say that's heavily fetishized by a lot of people in this country.
Yeah. This stuff isn't normal BDSM stuff like you could find on Pornhub or whatever. There's
What's
some
Pornhub? I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of that
No.
site? Like there's some of that on there, but most of it is just very violent and graphic. Under the pictures section, there's all kind of stuff that people have uploaded from porn that you can tell it's staged, like a woman's just playing dead, to poorly photoshopped things like beheadings. I saw this dude making photoshopped things of him beheading people that looked like it was fucking made in like shopped in Microsoft Paint.
It's ridiculous.
It was so terrible. He was all dressed up in his thing and had his axe and stuff.
Oh my God, these people.
And then there's also really graphic stuff that I honestly couldn't tell if it was real or not. Some of it looked really
Ugh, I don't need to see
real.
that.
And there was one girl on there that it was under, I think it was on the under the other group because it was like a hanging thing, but like noose, like for real hanging, like not just. And this girl had these little clips on there of herself doing it to like get these dudes off. She was really fucking jerking her neck hard. Like she would fall hard. It made me really uncomfortable to watch because I'm like, I feel like she's actually gonna kill herself eventually.
I don't love this at all.
It's very dark, and some of the pictures I saw that I couldn't tell if were real or not. They were not great. The video section is pretty sketchy. When I tried to click on that, it said I didn't have permission to view that part of the site, so who knows what's on there.
Kevin didn't give you admin rights yet.
You got to pay like the premium account for that one. That's not just the free with your actual email address.
So if I have some guy named Kevin show up at my front door and I end up being killed,
you got to tongue Kevin's balls while you put your finger in the toaster and turn the water on. Or
sounds about right. Yeah.
Oh, I like it, Ian. Pretty brave, man. I don't know. Signing up with your name.
Oh, that's stupid. That's not brave.
Hey, Ian, knock, knock.
Who's there?
The FBI. They're at your house right now. They're confiscating all your stuff.
There was a couple things I clicked on that that were like taking a long time loading. I'm like, I'm just gonna back up. I should have used the fucking
Tor.
Yeah. So did you have the real question? Did you just leave Kevin on red?
Oh, I mean, I didn't friend this guy. Absolutely not.
Just saying, like, you're ghosting him now.
Oh. He's got blue balls over there in Germany because Ian won't respond.
I didn't know if you sent like a response back, like, I'm listening.
Well, I actually said I was saying like I should catfish this dude a bit. But then I was warned that you shouldn't do that because of things like I wasn't using a VPN, and then that it could actually be illegal depending on what I say too.
Yeah,
as we're going to talk about in this case.
You also, I mean, what if this guy does his own thing and now you're an accomplice or implicated because of your conversations?
So I backed out of that idea.
It's a good move.
Fucking Interpol alert goes out. You should probably in from Germany.
You should probably go ahead and delete that account as quick as possible too.
Kevin ate an entire daycare center yesterday. Now they're looking for his accomplice.
Yeah, right.
In Ohio, Ian.
They might subpoena that voicemail we have.
Oh,
then what?
I don't know. I might be in trouble. At
the end of the voicemail, I wish we would have like dubbed over like Necronomipod, so that now it's, like at least they're going to hear that as part of it, and it's get our name out. If Ian's going down, at least the podcast will spread.
So in the summer of 2012, Kathleen got on their computer and noticed that Gilberto forgot to log out of his account. The search history was deleted, but she noticed 2 files at the bottom of the desktop. When she clicked on them, the images didn't load, but there was a URL to darkfetishnet.com. In court, Kathleen said, quote, "It was porn and it was disturbing. I mean, I know S&M is kind of popular, like 50 Shades of Grey, but this seemed different. The girl on the front page was dead, and I could clearly see somebody that's not familiar with things like 4chan or whatever.
Yeah.
If you just went on that website and you have no clue what you're looking at all, you could easily think the person's really dead.
Sure.
On the front page.
Of course.
Or any of those pictures, to be honest.
To a civilian who's not skilled in the dark fetish community like yourself, she doesn't know better. She needs you and Kevin to show her the way.
Was this, I know you guys watched the documentary. Was this Kathleen girl in the documentary?
Just in like some court footage.
Oh, she's a very attractive girl.
She didn't participate.
Yeah.
She doesn't want anything to fucking do with it.
No.
I mean,
she's in The Girl Next Door.
For sure. On September 9th, 2012, Kathleen installed spyware on their computer. The next day, she saw all the websites that Gilberto was visiting: darkfetishnet.com, girlsinabind.com, and fetlife.com.
Girlsinabind.com, is that like a GoFundMe for kind of underprivileged girls who need like money to fix their car or pay their rent? They're like in a bind.
I think so. I think that's right.
I figured you opened an account on there too.
It's true.
I did not visit these, but I saw a picture of FetLife.com. Like I saw a picture of what the website looks like a screenshot.
Okay.
Looked pretty similar to Darkfetishnet. Kind of the same deal.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm pretty sure I got a few of my paranormal erotica stories from FetLife.
Did you?
I think so. But I never created an account. Like, it was just like if you Google like paranormal erotica, I think that was one of the ones that came up. Maybe. I don't remember, but
there's lots of erotica on these sites too.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff, especially vor stuff. You ever heard of vor before?
I don't believe I have.
It's being turned on by somebody being eaten, but not eaten like cannibalism, eaten whole. So like it's a lot of drawings and erotica, but like getting off on a snake eating someone whole, that kind of thing. A lot of erotica about like someone's jaw detaching and being able to swallow someone whole.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't love that.
All right.
There's some people out there.
I have
whatever happened to just straight like penises and assholes, and like you just watch someone get it in the ass and you get off on it and you move on. What happened to like the good old just, call me old fashioned?
They're on doomyandthePooper.com. They're not part of the story.
I signed up with that with my legit email address also. It's doomyandthepooper Mike_Namapod. Little ATM action. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah. You got to go to the bank sometimes.
Right. See? And what's crazy is we're the wholesome ones of this whole conversation with what we're talking about today. Just some wholesome ATM fun.
So she saw her name in instant message chats about this. Kathleen said, quote, and I started clicking on them, and all of a sudden I was staring at pictures of me, pictures of my friends, pictures of people we knew. Kathleen entered her name in the search of Gilberto's email, and what she saw was shocking to her. In the court document, she described it saying, quote, I was going to be tied up by my feet and my throat slit, and they would have fun watching the blood gush out of me because I was young. And, quote, if she cries, don't listen to her. Don't give her mercy. And Gil just said, quote, it's okay. We will just gag her. So that's got to be something, right?
So she's reading.
That's something.
She's reading about her boyfriend talking about
her husband now.
I'm sorry, husband, like fetishizing her brutal murder
with strangers.
Yeah,
but if
and you're now on this site.
Yeah, talking to Kevin. But if that's his thing, shouldn't she kind of be happy that he's including her? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You don't have to answer that.
At least it's you and not like another woman.
Yeah, like he's involving his wife in his fantasies. It's hot, baby. What's wrong with you? Why are you so uptight?
She booked a flight immediately to go stay with her parents in Nevada.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Days later, she logged into the Spyware program again. She found a ton of images of women being tortured, sexually assaulted. She saw records of Google searches for phrases like, quote, how to kidnap a woman and, quote, human meat recipes. She opened files with pictures of more than 80 women Gilberto downloaded from Facebook or other sources. So all real people here, at least real in the sense of
like they exist
within his.
He knows them and or they're in his life.
His sphere of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the friends of friends, things like that. Mm-hmm. She also read email conversations Gilberto had with 3 different people in which he discussed the various ways he might kidnap, rape, kill, and cook these women. His wife, Kathleen, was one of them, but there were others. An old friend of hers from work, Gilberto's supervisor at the 26th precinct, a teenage girl who had just graduated from Gilberto's high school, and a bunch of Gilberto's college friends.
Guy wants to eat everyone he knows.
So it just adds.
Who's he going to hang out with?
It adds to the case of, if you're looking at this, he's not finding random women or porn stars online and having a fantasy. He's fantasizing or discussing women that he has access to or could easily get to or knows personal information about.
Yeah. And then things like that random girl from his old high school.
But again, someone he could easily get in touch with and knows where she might live in that area.
Right.
Yeah.
but doesn't know her personally.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But does including actual real life people, places, whatnot that that are actually in your life, doesn't that make the fantasy more real and thus more enjoyable?
Yeah, I'm just saying from a standpoint of like, if you're with the fantasy role,
Yeah.
or if you're building a case against him, these are people he had access to.
I get it.
For the actual fetish or, the kink or whatever, yeah, okay, sure, that makes it more exciting. It's people I was just kind of saying from the standpoint of building a case against this guy.
Right.
These aren't people he's never, he's not talking about celebrities he wants to snuff or whatever with.
I would just say that probably doesn't seem real and involving your real world, contacts, whatever. It probably makes it more real. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask Kevin.
Well, yeah, Ian. I mean,
you got to follow bonus show discussing this with Kevin.
Start a thread on your dark fetish page. The differences between using your fantasies for women you know and women you don't. Get back to us.
Yeah, does beheading a famous person or like your mother-in-law make you come harder? We'd like to know.
Yeah, and share pictures of your cum shots or videos so that we can see like, oh yeah, that one was much more intense when it was someone you knew as opposed to someone I mean, would that be the most ridiculous ask on that website?
No,
I think not.
No. I think not.
Sweeten the deal up for them a little bit, like I don't know. Maybe pick a scab or something and show them a picture of like your bloody hand. Get them going first. Like, here's my bloody hand. All right, now that I got you guys, I have your attention. Or cut yourself shaving and just zoom in on just the blood on your skin.
I got this wound jerking off Kevin.
Yeah,
virtually, of course.
Shortly after 2 p.m. on October 24th, a group of FBI agents staked out Gilberto's apartment. They were worried about a shootout with him since he was a NYPD officer. They ended up luring him out into the hallway by calling his house phone and saying that the car he parked outside had been hit. Gilberto came outside, and the second he saw the FBI, he knew exactly what was going on. According to the court stuff, an agent placed his hand on Gilberto's shoulder and said, quote, "Everything is going to be okay." To which Gilberto looked at him and said, quote, "I don't think so." He was arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and the FBI identified 3 co-conspirators. Gilberto had privately direct messaged 24 people from Darkfetishnet, and of those 24, 3 stood out. Those interactions were moved from Darkfetishnet to a burner email Gilberto was using, and in the FBI's opinion, crossed the line from role-playing online to actively planning to kidnap someone for the purpose of torture, rape, murder, and cannibalism. Those 3 co-conspirators were a car mechanic from southern New Jersey named Michael Van Ice, a British man that Gilberto knew as Moody Blues, who the FBI identified as Dale Bollinger, and someone using the username Ali Khan, who was apparently logging in from Pakistan. The FBI was never able to identify who that person was.
But this guy in Pakistan, he's not able to even look at women without a burqa. So baby steps, my man. You sure you want to jump up to eating them? Maybe you want to hold their hand or, see their cheek first. Yeah. I don't know. It's a bit of a jump. I don't know.
He's diving right in.
So let's break down and summarize the criminal complaint filed by the FBI. At first, I was thinking about maybe just reading it, but there was a lot of just legal stuff in there. So just shorten it up. Count 1, Gilberto and co-conspirators engaged in a conspiracy to kidnap someone. The overt acts related to Count 1. On or about July 9th, 2012, Gilberto talked with Moody Blues about kidnapping, cooking, and eating his college friend Kimberly Sauer. On or about July 22nd, 2012, Gilberto traveled to Maryland to visit Kimberly as a catching up visit so she could meet his wife and new baby. Gilberto then told Moody Blues about the trip, which we'll get into that in a bit. Count 2. Gilberto used the police database to compile information on women that were found on his computer. These were both women he knew personally and women he didn't know personally. And the prosecution, their opinion was that he just found them on Facebook, like friends of friends or like suggested people.
I'll be honest, count 2 is way more disturbing than count 1 to me.
And count 2 is for sure that is like that. That's black and white.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He did that.
Like that's complete misuse, and it's only a misdemeanor charge too. I think that should be the felony.
That's a misdemeanor, like
For accessing.
Yeah.
This is a chat regarding Kimberly Sauer between Gilberto and Moody Blues. That's in the criminal complaint.
Mike, do you want to be Moody Blues or Gil?
I'll be Moody.
Okay.
So this one's from July 9th, 2012.
How big is your oven?
Big enough to fit one of these girls if I folded their legs. The abduction will have to be flawless. I know all of them. Kimberly, I can just show up at her home unannounced. It will not alert her, and I can knock her out, wait until dark, and kidnap her right out of her home.
You really would be better to grab a stranger. The first thing the police force will do is check out a friend.
Her family is out of state.
I have anesthetic gases.
I can make chloroform here.
It's really hard to dislocate a jaw. Also, how would we put her over the fire? Spilling kills the girl. Have to put her in a kind of cage. What is your favorite cut of meat?
I was thinking of tying her body onto some kind of apparatus, cook her over low heat, keep her alive as long as possible. I love that she's asleep right now, not having the slightest clue of what we have planned. Her days are numbered. I'm glad you're on board. She does look tasty, doesn't she?
You do know if we don't waste any of her, there is nearly 75 pounds of food there. Have you got a recipe for chloroform?
I found a website a couple of nights ago. Let me see if I can get it again.
I felt dirty reading. Like that's...
It's just a ridiculous conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you like, are these guys...
The problem,
like, are they masturbating while they're having this conversation?
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Like they're getting off just on like the planning of it and talking of it.
that's what the defense would say.
Yeah.
So the FBI points out that the computer had multiple searches on how to make chloroform. And on July 17th, 2012, Gilberto sent Moody Blues a link to a website showing how to make chloroform. That's what I don't understand about the fantasy aspect. Why is it that much of a... Is it going to get you off that much harder to actually look up chloroform and send it to the person?
I think so. I think it just makes it more real. Kind of tricking your mind like you're actually planning this. It's way creepy, but
Yeah.
I don't know that it is evidence of a conspiracy.
Oh, I think it doesn't hurt the evidence of a conspiracy, though. But that alone does not.
Yeah.
But, you know, now you're showing an initiative to plan something, whether there's more information or not.
What's the term, Ian? An overt act related to the conspiracy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's once
Is that
you-
an overt act?
The way that Alan Dershowitz said it in the documentary, it's as soon as you just take an inch towards the conspiracy, they can put an overt act on you.
I mean, it's definitely the start of creeping towards something. Is that enough? I don't know. But that, no, I mean, no, I know it's not, but it's the start of something.
Just based off that chat, the thing that just completely rubs me the wrong way about it is he's talking about someone that he knows.
Which, again, goes back to my point of, like, it's someone he has access to and could easily do this too.
Right. It's not just making up. When I think of fantasy with this, it'd be like, oh, a her, or you just make up a name if I was doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But then it goes back to what Dave said, where it makes the fantasy more intense if it's real, if it's someone you know. That doesn't bother me as much as the fact they're actually taking steps to learn how to do this. That bothers me more.
Like if your fantasy's chloroforming girls, I mean, doesn't knowing how to make chloroform kind of trick your mind into making it better?
I honestly don't even know if I could wrap my head around that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't argue that it doesn't. Mm-hmm. But I'm just trying to think, like, if my fantasy was chloroforming someone, I think just the thought of me chloroforming them would be the enough.
But
it's different.
Doesn't
It's
having
different.
the recipe and being able to make chloroform get you one step closer to that kind of in your mind?
I think it could. I understand how
I'm
people
making
could say
points
it
that are going
could.
to get me arrested on the show.
I understand how it could, but this is also still now like it's people they know that he has access to, or that he knows that he has access to, and he's taking at least initial steps to plan something and having a conversation about how it's going to be done. He's slowly building a case against himself, even if it's still the early stages of it. And is that alone enough to put him away? Probably not.
What if Stephen King was on this site doing research for a novel and was doing kind of the same sort of thing and using people he knew as a character in his book? Would it be different? Is it all about context?
I think so.
Well, I think so.
And is someone writing a book allowed to do this, but someone who it's their fantasy isn't? Like, how do you draw that line? I think is my main question with all this. If it was a reporter doing research for a story.
Yeah, no, I think that's I 100% agree with you. You know, I'm not saying he's guilty right now with what he's doing. I'm just saying he's not doing himself any favors. Like he's building a case right now. It is what it is, but there's nothing illegal that's happened yet, right? Like he's just having a chat with someone, happens to look up how to make chloroform.
All right. Let's look at the rest of the evidence, shall we?
It's not illegal to talk about people you know, right?
Right.
In a sexualized way.
And as far as the criminal complaint goes with this stuff we're getting into with that, it's like you said, it's an overt act. So that's what they're like when they say chloroform and he searched chloroform, that's an overt act pushing him a little closer to actually doing something. And that's all they're looking for.
Right. And by no means am I trying to justify what this guy is doing. You know, like I know it sounds like, but I'm just trying to look at this from a standpoint of like where a fetish becomes a crime or a mental illness or an addiction or something like that.
Yeah. And the documentary is aptly named Thought Crimes because I feel like that's what we're looking at here. But we'll see when we get through the whole batch of evidence.
Bloop, 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 bloop. This is an ad break. Bloop, 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 bloop. This is an ad break.
The next thing the FBI put in the complaint was a document found on Gilberto's computer titled, quote, Abducting and Cooking Kimberly, a Blueprint. This is the one that I have the biggest issue with. This document is available in the court case files, but I didn't feel like there was any reason to like break it down everything that was on it because it has a lot of information about her. But the document had Kimberly's full name, date of birth, place of birth, ethnicity, education, marital status, height, and weight, as well as a picture of her.
And that was all accurate information?
Well, we'll get into that when we get into his defense.
Okay.
On the next page, it says the following, quote, Abducting Kimberly, target date, Sunday, September 2nd, 2012. I will arrive at some point Sunday night at her home to kidnap her. She lives in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Pictures of her house need to be added. Materials needed. Car, have it. Chloroform, refer to website for directions. Rope, strongest kind to tie her up securely. Gag, duct tape. Something to put in the trunk to collect any DNA. Tarp/plastic bags. Separate bag to gather her clothes. Gloves, cheap sneakers.
If Richard Ramirez would have followed that last one with the cheap sneakers, he might have got away.
I don't love this document. This is to send this one to people to the co-conspirators, or specifically Moody Blues.
It's a little specific.
I think the picture of her on it kind of sealed it for me because when I downloaded the court file of it, I'm like, fuck, I'm looking at this woman here.
It must completely suck to be her that forever, like that picture, was attached to that court filing whenever anyone searches it.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrible. Yeah, it's beyond creepy for sure.
Because this one has a date. Like it's taking it so close to the edge.
My thought with that one, though, too, I mean, and yes, I agree with everything you guys said. I'm going to sound like a real weirdo for all this, but I'm just trying to look at everything. This says September 2nd, right? He was arrested October 24th. So we're almost 2 months past that date. Nothing happened.
Right.
So.
And there's multiple
Is it
times,
just fantasy then?
Well, there's multiple times throughout the chats that dates are given and
pass, and nothing happens.
Okay.
Several times.
Which obviously is good. We didn't want her to be abducted. Right. I'm just trying to look at this from all angles. I hope people aren't getting like fucking pissed or weird at me.
The next part is referring to Alicia Frisca, the friend of Gilberto's wife, Kathleen, who teaches school at where she used to work. So literally like no fucking connection to her at all, really. The FBI points out that on February 28th, 2012, Gilberto and co-conspirator Van Heist settled on a price for Gilberto to kidnap Alicia. The following is their chat logs that the FBI quoted.
You want me to beat my Van Heist again? Okay. And also about the price. Would you do a payment plan or full up front?
Full payment due at delivery. Just so that you know, she may be knocked out when I get her to you. I don't know how long the solvent I am using will last, but I have to knock her out to get her out of her apartment safely.
I definitely want her. And how much again? I'm sorry to ask, but I don't remember.
$5,000 and she's all yours.
Could we do 4?
I am putting my neck on the line here. If something goes wrong somehow, I am in deep shit. $5,000 and you need to make sure she is not found. She will definitely make the news. It is going to be so hard to restrain myself when I knock her out. But I am aspiring to be a professional kidnapper, and that's business. But I will really get off on knocking her out, tying up her hands and bare feet and gagging her. Then she will be stuffed into a large piece of luggage and wheeled out to my van.
Just make sure she doesn't die before I get her.
No need to worry. She will be alive. It's a short drive to you. I think I would rather not get involved in the rape. You paid for her. She's all yours, and I don't want to be tempted the next time I abduct a girl.
I understand. Also, is there anything I can trade that might knock down that price a bit?
No, nothing at all. Like I said, this is very risky and will ruin my life if I am caught. I really need the money, and I can't take under $5,000 for Alicia. This is absolutely ridiculous, this conversation.
Yeah.
It's just a couple of jerk-off incels back and forth, daydream, fantasizing about they're going to get up the nerve to talk to a girl and kidnap her.
But you say that, but you don't know. You don't know that.
I don't know.
You don't know it. I mean, it's a very creepy conversation, and maybe it is just incels talking about it, but they're planning, they're talking about doing something.
That's where this hinges on, just what constitutes planning and what constitutes a conspiracy. I don't know.
Well, and I think what we'll get to in a bit here with Ian really, for me, kind of helps me make up my mind.
I think the FBI is getting really thrown off by the money. As soon as money's talked about, usually that's when the FBI says go. Randy Weaver with the guns as soon as money was exchanged.
Okay.
I think maybe.
But Randy Weaver was actually doing something, right? Like he was caught doing something.
Right.
This was just a chat that then money was talked about.
Yeah, I feel like anytime money is being talked about or dealt with or a price is confirmed.
Because it shows a little more intent.
Yeah, you're moving it forward even more. In my mind.
I get that point. Sure.
On March 1st, 2012, the FBI pulled cell phone pings that put Gilberto on the block that Alicia's apartment building was on. The FBI interviewed Alicia, and she said that she never invited Gilberto over, and she did not know him very well.
Well, is that pinging in the exact science? And we're talking about New York City here. He wasn't.
I don't put a lot of stock in this
necessarily on her block because he knew where she lived, or I'm sure he did know where she lived, but I don't know.
Did he know where she lived?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I just don't know what a valid piece of evidence that is. But add it in with the other pieces of evidence.
Yeah,
it forms a picture.
There's
and I get that.
Ton of creepy stuff in all of this, and this is terrifying if you are any of these women.
Absolutely,
I 100% get that.
Everything we just talked about. That's the criminal complaint to arrest him. So that's what they compiled.
I don't know that constitutes a conspiracy, in my opinion.
In chats happening about the same time as these ones, but with Ali Khan, that guy from Pakistan that they couldn't figure out who it was really. Gilberto suggested taking his wife Kathleen on a trip to India, where the two of them would kill her and eat her for dinner. They also discussed killing Andrea Noble, one of Gilberto's college friends. Gilberto wrote, quote, "It's personal with Andrea. She will absolutely suffer."
He sounds bitter because she turned him down in college.
That's exactly what. Yeah,
smart. Sorry, you got a small fucking dangle, Pally, but Andrea and into you.
In further chats with Moody Blues, they discussed ways that Gilberto might kidnap another woman, Kristen Ponticelli, a recent graduate of Gilberto's old high school, who he never personally met.
That's super creepy.
Yeah.
Some high school girl from your alma mater that you don't even know.
Or a recent graduate, no longer high school.
Well, you found her on Facebook or something?
It's creepy.
Super creepy.
You gotta make your accounts private, people.
But he looked her up with the police database.
That's true. He went further. Yeah.
All he needed was her name.
Still, make your social media accounts private, people.
The next day, they moved on to Andrea Noble. Gilberto wrote, quote, "If Andrea lived near me, she would have been gone by now. Even if I get caught, she would be worth it." He's really not thrilled with Andrea.
No, not at all.
The problem in this case for the FBI and prosecution, there was no physical evidence from Gilberto's home suggesting he was getting ready to kidnap or cook anyone. There was no oven big enough for a person and no homemade chloroform. The prosecutors had no proof that Gilbert knew the identities of the 3 people he was chatting with. Also, Gilberto never said the last names of any of the people whose photos he shared and never gave out their addresses, even after Moody Blues specifically asked for one. And he switched up the details about their life stories and college educations. One of the facts that the defense pointed out was that his profile said it was all fantasy. And there's a few times in the chat that Moody Blues would ask Gilberto if he was for real or not, and Gilberto said, no, it's fantasy.
Well, there you go. Case closed. I mean, but, when you're cranking and talking about eating chicks, having to overtly state this is fantasy every time, probably it's a boner killer, no?
I mean, it could be looked at as what? Covering your ass? Or it could be looked at as, no, I just want you to be sure this is fantasy.
Yeah. You can see it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't. I've never masturbated, but it's been well documented. I'm knee deep in a river of pussy every day. So. But I would imagine if I was so desperate as to have to ejaculate myself, who knows where the mind would go. But I watch pro wrestling and NASCAR. Clearly, I don't masturbate or need to masturbate.
As trial was getting ready to start, on December 31st, 2012, forensic psychiatrist Park Dietz interviewed Gilberto. Park Dietz is kind of the who's who of forensic psychiatry. He's interviewed, almost all well-known murders. There was a list that was like, here's the notable people he hasn't interviewed. And it was like, somewhere between 5 or 7 people. Dietz interviewed Gilberto for 18 hours. That lasted for 3 days. When Dietz first read the emails, he said, quote, "From the chats and emails, there was no way to tell. Chats and emails allow for multiple inferences. Taken at their worst, they would be very alarming."
Yeah, I would agree. Sure.
It's putting it mildly.
Then regarding Gilberto after the interviews, Dietz said, quote, "I understand how the evidence could be construed in that way. I see him as many, many steps removed from the kind of person that might start to take action. To become a sex criminal acting on your paraphilia, you need more than your paraphilia. All the past actions and aggressive actions and character flaws that show us that he's a 1 in 1,000 monster, and I couldn't find them."
They used to call Mike paraphilia in college because he would always say, "If you got a pair, I'll feel you."
It's true. With consent, of course.
Of course.
With consent.
Obviously.
Not just running around just honking everything I see.
Gilberto faced a maximum of life in prison for the conspiracy charge and a maximum of 5 years for accessing the Federal National Crime Information Center database without authorization.
Only 5 years, max, for using your job to just invade anybody's personal life, personal information, details, and then using that to possibly share with people on Ian's website.
That is such a just breach of trust.
You should be summarily disqualified from ever holding any sort of position of law enforcement or anything like that if you ever do that.
Should you have your dangle and balls cut off?
No, I do not believe that is an appropriate punishment.
No prison time, but castration. Castration.
I don't think the punishment fits the crime.
Okay.
Like you're suggesting it does.
Just wondering, what about fingertips cut off? You can't type anymore.
Could just go to voice dictation. Tongue cut out too.
So you think fingertips and tongue
cut
cut
your
out?
tongue out.
Okay.
Then you just be like Larry Flint having
Well, so wait. So
can you look up your girl Ida for me?
So you're saying that cutting off a tongue fits the crime, but not the dangle?
No, neither of them. That's barbaric.
Okay.
It's not the kind of country we live in.
Yeah. Says the guy who supports capital punishment.
Where's Kimberly Sullivan?
You almost sound like you're Larry Flint doing an impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I caught that at the end.
That's the new best one. Larry Flint doing Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's just nothing but just Dave like tonguing the inside of his mouth and gurgling.
So as far as how the trial went, it's what you would think it would be. The state relied on the chats and the real life moves Gilberto made, and the defense kept saying it was fantasy and pointing out the times that Gilberto said it wasn't for real. The jury returned a verdict of guilty on all charges in March of 2013. Later on, one of the jurors said, quote, "We did what we did in good conscience. Clearly, we believed his fantasy was going to step into reality. I think like an addict needs a larger and larger dose. He was needing things that were more and more real, and he was progressing. He was bringing it into real life."
All right. Time the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we always say, get that bench trial.
This is the perfect example of why you would take a bench trial over a jury trial. This very scenario.
I'm going to make this generic and not even talk about this specific case. This jurist said nothing about what he was actually being charged with at that moment and stated, we convicted him because he might commit a crime in the future.
100% she said that.
I got a big problem with that one. And again, I know it looks like I'm defending this guy this whole episode. I'm really not. But this pisses me off almost as much as anything else that we've read tonight.
That's why you can't ever take a jury trial.
This guy's a fucking creeper. I get that. But this statement is ridiculous.
People don't know how to separate their feelings from the law, and they go into these things and they don't understand, and they don't like this guy. Obviously, women on a jury are not. And this is the same woman from the documentary, right? This quote?
I believe so.
Okay. I think you're going to find a lot of women that are going to have a hard time being impartial to a guy whose fetish is eating women, you know?
And posting in pictures and names. Yeah, I get
the guy's
that.
a piece of garbage, but you still, that's, you know, he's not being charged with being a piece of garbage, and you have to look at it objectively.
You're supposed to be looking at, did he commit a crime here or not?
Not that I think
is
he's
he going to commit a crime?
Absolutely.
Like, that is just so fucked up.
Awful. There's how many people are in prison because of juries like this?
He might commit a crime.
Yep.
Or, I don't like the way he looks. He might do something in the future.
Absolutely.
Well, that's like Alan Dershowitz talking about this case. Like, yeah, he's a piece of shit person. We've talked about that in Epstein, but he's a really good defense lawyer. And he said when he has the jury, he asked them, like, I can't remember the word
he said, if somebody was probably guilty, would you convict them?
Yeah.
And they said, yes. He said, you're going, get rid of this person, because that's not how it works.
Yeah. It's beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
Like,
probably guilty is not guilty.
And like the way he laid it out was like all the evidence is there that they probably did it.
Yeah.
Like,
if you're a jurist, if you're selected for a jury, Dave, should you be mandated before the trial starts to watch 12 Angry Men? I think you should. I think you should.
I have no problem with that, I guess. It's great.
I think it's a perfect example of how juries work and how juries should work. The one dude misses a whole baseball game because of it, Dave. Have you seen 12 Angry Men? When was that made? That was old. It's black and white.
There's a remake. There's the original.
Oh, I haven't seen the remake.
In the 50s, I think. And I believe 50s? There was a remake. I don't know. I don't remember when.
Did you see the remake? And do you remember liking it? Or I don't
remember. I remember the original.
Love the original.
Look, you see the people you meet out in the world every day. You think they're smart enough to be on a jury?
I believe we covered this earlier. Maybe you should have your Google search history looked at before you're on a jury.
Maybe you should.
First thing pops up, what is a jury? Yeah, you're off. You're off. Out.
I have a real problem with this.
That statement is really bad.
Just the whole issue, the whole thing of a jury would make me do a bench trial. The fact that there's these interviews and there's these strategies on which jurors you want to win.
It's just not fair at all.
I'm like, absolutely not. That's like, it's a, you know.
Look, I mean, you might get a bad judge too, but
yeah,
I don't know.
You take your chances with the judge over the jury. I mean, the judge at least did something to get someplace,
Yeah.
Literally everybody gets, a jury summons.
But then you read stories of judges who have friends and getting kickbacks from private prison officials. So they're, sentencing people to this prison for monetary gains.
Dave, we're not here to let you pontificate about all the flaws in the justice system.
Modern day slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But that one, and again, I almost feel like we're coming off as like his defense attorneys here. This guy did a lot of bad stuff. I just don't like this comment. You're supposed to be looking at what he is actually charged with and the evidence provided. Did he break the law? And they're saying, well, we found him guilty because we think he might.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
It's not at all.
Judge Paul G. Gardeffi of Federal District Court overturned Gilberto's conviction on the conspiracy charge in June of 2014, saying that evidence supported his conclusion that Gilberto was only doing, quote, fantasy role play. The lesser conviction regarding him accessing the police database was still standing, but Gilberto was sentenced to time served and he was released.
See, judge would have found you not guilty to begin with.
Yep.
He did sit in jail for 21 months, though.
I was going to ask how much
Metropolitan lockup till this judge made the ruling.
Wow.
It was a long time. Almost 2 years.
I read that, you would think that, you always hear that police officers are targeted immediately.
Mm.
I read that they oddly accepted him and no one fucked with him and they kind of just left him alone.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe he wrote fan fiction for him or something. Passed their time in there. Stories about them eating the guards and stuff.
Or they're like, oh, you're girl meat hunter. Hell yeah. Nice, pleasure to meet you. We've been chatting with you for years.
Bro, you never delivered Kimberly. You're supposed to.
Right.
The government appealed the dismissal of the conspiracy charge to the Second Circuit. The United States Courts of Appeals for the Second Circuit ruled on December 3rd, 2015, regarding two questions on the appeal. Quote, the government appeals from the district court's judgment of acquittal on the conspiracy count, and Valle separately appeals from the judgment of conviction on the CFAA count. Because we agree that there was insufficient evidence to the existence of genuine agreement to kidnap and of Valle's specific intent to commit a kidnapping, we affirm the district court's judgment of acquittal on the conspiracy count. Because we find that the district court's construction of the CFAA violates the rule of lenity, we reverse the judgment of conviction on the CFAA count.
Boom. I'm free.
Yeah.
I think the second one's interesting because it's the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. I think they just act.
The act.
They just essentially said that law is meant to be an anti-hacking law and violating a system, breaching a system that you have access to isn't covered under this law. It's just abuse of NYPD policy, not
a federal crime.
Not a federal crime under the CFAA.
Well, if he wasn't actually giving out the information, though, then so he was just using it for his own personal research, right? So it's not like he was actually getting it and distributing it to people.
They just took a narrow scope of what that law means, and abusing work computers not covered under it, I believe, is how I read it.
But they were able to pull his searches, and it wasn't like he was just searching random people. They were targeted searches.
But they weren't prior to when he started doing this? There was a bit of a disconnect between the searches and the actual...
That's what the documentary said.
Yeah.
But the FBI's criminal complaint says that he did those searches on, I think it was May 31st, 2012 is when they're saying that he did the searches.
So during...
Yeah.
Okay.
So who's telling the truth? The documentary, the FBI? I don't know, but
we're telling the truth here tonight.
Well, we're truth tellers. We always do that.
Right. Australia doesn't exist. Scientology is bullshit.
The clit is a myth going back thousands and thousands of years.
Exactly. And Dave's happy that one fucking lady from a couple weeks ago on Ariel Castro is dead.
Sylvia Brown.
Sylvia Brown. Get them all fired up again.
What a pig. Imagine bringing a missing girl's mother on a show and telling her you're dead because you're playing the odds, because most cases she is going to be dead. Imagine doing that. What a piece of filth. Ugh.
I wonder how much money Sylvia Brown made.
Yeah. I wonder.
She didn't get a dime from us. I can say that, right?
No, she didn't. I'm not joining her OnlyFans.
Well, I believe she has passed away before OnlyFans existed.
Good,
right?
even better.
When are we going to start our OnlyFans? And there's money to be made. I'll show an elbow for money. What do you want to see?
I mean, there's money to be made on there. I don't know if it's
Do you think there's a lot of
you.
there's a lot of girls signing up for OnlyFans to see guys like with just like hairy dad bods?
no.
I do not think that. No.
That's like the guys on The Catch a Predator. Like you were saying, they think these girls are gonna want to.
Yeah, but we're not gonna be fucking illegal about it. We'll just set up an OnlyFans, and if you want to sign up, sign up. You know. You might get a shirtless picture of Dave mowing his lawn, sweaty and hungover. Take it or leave it. It's up to you.
I don't mow my own lawn. What are you talking about?
True. Well, excuse me.
You fucking nuts? It's hot out there.
Get a picture of, Ian picking weeds or something, or strolling out at like 3:30 in the afternoon in a hoodie and sweats to go get his mail from yesterday because he hasn't been out in 2 days.
It's very accurate.
So this is the OnlyFans they want. You want a picture of all my Chuck Taylors that I have? I have a whole, array of colors. I'll show you a picture of those. Feet pics, if you will. Except my feet will be covered and they'll be in the shoes. Pay for that. Money to be made. We're just leaving it out there.
How much are you selling these for?
Well, I think they have tiers on OnlyFans, don't they?
I think so.
You tell us.
Yeah, I am not a subscriber. Casey Anthony hasn't started one yet. I don't know. $10 a month, and we'll post at least a photo a week. Let us know your thoughts.
It's ridiculous.
You will see no nudity.
So he's home free then. He's out of jail. He's gone.
A judge agreed with, his argument here. But let's just wrap up with his co-conspirators. Like we said, that Ali Khan guy, they think he was logging on from Pakistan. That wasn't even confirmed in the complaint. They I don't think they really know anything about who that was.
Yeah, because he used a Tor browser and he's not a dumbass like these other clowns.
Dale Bollinger, a.k.a. Moody Blues, was convicted in 2014 in an unrelated plot to rape, decapitate, and eat a 14-year-old girl.
Oh, boy.
So what he was doing was at least for real enough to someone in the court system in the UK to convict him. Michael Van Heijs was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for his role in chats unrelated to Gilberto's case. At pretty much the same time as Michael Van Heijs was chatting with Gilberto, he was also chatting with Stuyvesant High School librarian Christopher Ashe in Trenton, New Jersey. These two met in person and drove around discussing where they could dump bodies. He also asked another person online for help in killing his sister-in-law and her kids, ranging in 9 to 1 years old, with him saying that he wanted to hang and rape the 9-year-old.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's not a good one.
I mean, it's good that some of these people are no longer in society, at least temporarily.
So then that raises the question of all these chats, and these guys are, all have been convicted and other things separate.
All the people he was talking to have been convicted of other crimes.
Was Gilbert one of these guys that was for real?
I mean, dates passed that he had set up that he didn't do anything.
And just a description like this oven that he didn't have, and he described having this place to hang and torture him in the basement, which he didn't have. He lived in a building and it was a community laundry room.
Right.
Like none of the stuff he described was actually possible.
And at times he talked about taking them to like a house or a cabin in the mountains or something, but he had no access to anything like that.
In my opinion, I think Gilberto was deeply entrenched in a fantasy.
I agree. I don't think there's any evidence here to suggest a conspiracy.
And I feel awful for the women that he, exposed online and posted their pictures. And maybe there was wrong information, but even if you're giving a picture and a first name, that's enough in this day and age to find somebody.
But is it a crime?
It's not a crime. It's not illegal.
Right.
But you're putting them in jeopardy. And if something were to have happened to them, then maybe you're talking about something different.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's you know, a scumbag and, you know, has some issues to work out. And I feel awful for the women. It's my opinion that I think he just got a little too involved in his fantasy and probably was an addict, you know, which I think is a mental illness. So
I think I agree with you. I think he's a super creep for sure. And his wife was right to fucking fly across the country and get the hell out of there.
Yeah, good for her.
At minimum, that's divorce grounds for divorce. Like,
and to this day, like he has no visitation rights with his daughter. She fought him on it. She didn't want him anywhere near her. She's just like, you know, he might fucking kill our kid. Yeah. So she cut him off for the kid. And I'm sure all of his friends that, you know, he involved in this nonsense cut him off too. But is it a crime? I don't think so. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree, and I get your argument, and I understand that, but I don't think this rises to a federal conviction on conspiracy to kidnap someone. I don't see the evidence for that.
I don't think that he should have been convicted. I don't think there was enough evidence to put him away for life. But I disagree with you guys in that it was fantasy. I think that he was on the path to do something for real.
I don't know that I disagree with that.
Yeah.
I think the steps he had taken to that point did not constitute a conspiracy and was just fantasy. But this guy is a weirdo.
Yeah.
And I fully believe he's probably capable and actually would like to go through with this.
Yeah, I agree. Because like or at least he's an addict. Addicts are going to be doing more and more and more. And this is kind of like what the jurist said, although he didn't do anything wrong at that point. He probably was going to do something at some point. But in this situation, it was a fantasy for him, and he probably was addicted to, I don't know, either the masturbation or the sexual fantasy of cannibalism, and that's what got him into the mess. But he probably was going to do something at some point.
Like I tend to think that he just got really fucking lucky that he tiptoed the line as close as he did and didn't make a really concrete step over yet.
Like if he had surveillance photos of any of those locations, like I think that constitutes a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like a little bit farther, absolutely.
Like just not even a fucking inch. Like he was right on that line.
Or if he had video of one of the girl, anything.
Yeah.
Any sort of physical evidence like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It was close. I mean, it was close. I don't know.
If I wake up tomorrow morning, though, and I read the news that this guy, you know, they found he ate a couple people, I won't be shocked in the least.
No.
Not at all.
Because you really, like, we just focused on the chats that were in the criminal complaint and then kind of wrapped up the other ones real quick, but they're fucking crazy.
Oh, there's pages and pages and pages of chats, and super creepy.
And then that got me wondering on the rest of the people on Darkfetishnet, because I'm like, when
your peers, so to speak.
Yeah, yes. I'm like, when does a fetish become an issue?
Mm-hmm. Like,
when does it become some form of a mental illness and a problem? So I was looking at that, and I looked at the DSM-5. The DSM-5, it stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders. So it's the 5th edition. It was updated not too long ago. So my understanding is that anything that you're attracted to or have a fetish for outside of just what you would consider, I guess, standard normal sex, missionary, you're just attracted to a woman, attracted to a man, would be a paraphilia. So if you're attracted,
anything outside of that, is
anything other than missionaries of paraphilia?
Well, I'm just saying, like if you're into feet,
okay,
paraphilia. You're into shoes, paraphilia.
Tattoos, paraphilia.
I don't know if that would be considered.
Why?
I'm not a
missionary sex.
I'm not a mental health professional. I don't understand the DSM-5.
I do like
completely.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like
anything.
Yeah, anything outside of the Bible, the biblical sense of sex.
So,
well, unless you're God impregnating Mary.
That's true.
The Bible.
But even people that are like people that are into like just inanimate objects that they get turned on by something random, that's a paraphilia.
Like a fleshlight.
Well,
I'm talking more like
like a remote control.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like remember that got you off, that's a paraphilia.
Remember that show with the inanimate objects where the guy like loved his car and used to fuck his car?
That sounds familiar.
My strange addiction. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I remember that, but it wasn't all about sex though, right? Like there was like someone who was like into like drinking like laundry detergent or something.
Oh yeah,
but it wasn't all
That's right.
It wasn't all
Yeah.
sexualized. Okay. Maybe that one was, but yeah, like it was just weird shit they did.
Yeah, like the guy married his car and would have sex with it.
Yeah.
It's got a gas tank. Holes is holes, Dave.
So all that stuff would be considered a paraphilia. They never put the word disorder with paraphilia until the 5th edition. So now it's considered, and this is a gray area for, I saw arguments when I was looking at this, articles by psychiatrists that are like, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because BDSM is a really standard thing. You can find it,
Right.
and it's if as long as it's consensual between people.
So according to the latest DSM, BDSM and foot fetishes are a disorder.
Well, BDSM is where it gets into that gray area.
But like you said earlier, a foot fetish was considered a paraphilia.
Paraphilia.
So a foot fetish is considered a disorder.
So it's always been considered a paraphilia. In this recent edition, they added the word disorder to some of them based on if it disrupts your life or disrupts someone else's life.
And by to some of them, you mean to some paraphilias.
Right. So
does it break down each one? Or
well, I don't know.
That would be interesting to like. I would like to know what sexual fetishes are considered now disorders.
I think any of them, if it causes you to have issues in life.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or if it causes someone else an issue. Like,
so it's not individually stating this is a disorder. This is
no.
But
no.
if that sexual fetish or addiction, because I still think addiction's a huge part of this, starts affecting your life, then it's a disorder.
Right.
Makes sense.
So like Jerry Brudos, remember he stole shoes all the time from women.
Yeah.
That's a disorder. According to the newest edition, that's a disorder at that point because he's affecting their lives by doing that.
Well, it can be
And
like a
his own
drug
life.
or alcohol addiction, right? Like, you know, when the alcohol starts affecting your day-to-day life, then it becomes an issue. It becomes a disorder. It's alcoholism.
Sure is, Mike. It sure is.
In sadistic, like sexually sadistic, that has, from my understanding, always been a disorder. There's no consent involved there. You genuinely want to hurt somebody. And I don't know that like this whole discussion of thought crime and stuff. It really had me wondering about people on Darkfetishnet, some of that stuff. I'm like, we don't know they're going to act on it, but something's
There's a good
there.
chance.
There's something there.
I mean, but then you're moving into, Minority Report, thought crime, persecution. It's a slippery slope that it's just not a tenable thing to do. It's just not that kind of country at this point. How do you lock up people for what they, get off on and what they might do in the future? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't think it's possible.
Well, you can't. You can't do it.
And that's
as long as what they're getting off on is not affecting other people or committing a crime.
Of course.
And that's the thing I was confused. I was confused with a little bit with the DSM-5 was, do you actually have to do that for it to be considered a disorder? Like, do you have to act out on, or is it just simply being sexually aroused to pictures of something like that?
I think if it takes up your day and affects your life, then that's probably
like Gilberto here.
Yeah.
He was up all night long. It was literally affecting it. It's ruined his marriage. It got him in legal trouble. That is affecting his life. If he's just looking at pictures and having a quick chat and then getting off and going to sleep and having a normal life, maybe not so much. This was literally affecting his life and getting in the way of him being a productive member of society.
Like in my personal views, I feel like it's all a major issue. That whole website is just extremely problematic.
Just the fact that they need that to get off and or that turns them on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't arrest people for their thoughts, but like every other fetish, I can look at it, even though I'm not into it, and be like, all right, I get it. But when you start to get into cutting someone's head off,
but what's the difference between that and someone that likes horror movies and or writes horror fan fiction, or like, what's the difference?
Yeah, I see that point. Yeah, it's such a weird.
Does getting a boner, is that like the deciding factor on when it crosses a line?
You mean you guys don't jerk off to the movie Martyrs? I certainly do.
I've yet to do that.
Those
girls are quite attractive.
I guess maybe part of it too was like the shock of being able to see the conversations on Darkfetishnet, because they're pretty graphic and violent things people are saying on there. And
I don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah.
Clearly, people like dark stuff. That's why horror movies are so popular.
If your go-to masturbation is decapitation, there's, that's different. But I don't know if you're just, having little not innocent, just chats with people about it or looking at pictures of it and you get yourself off. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess.
I will say that I 100% believe that, and, someone who jerks off watching that kind of stuff is 100 times more likely to actually do it than just a horror fan who likes horror movies, Yeah. I think there's a lot to do with context here, and someone who gets sexually aroused by that is way more likely to actually do it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not going to be murdering people because I like horror movies. And I like some depraved fucking horror movies. But
everyone likes horror movies, and you go into them watching it for entertainment. You're not going into it for sexual. When you're talking about sexual gratification, that's different feelings than just watching a movie and thinking, "Oh, this is good, entertaining."
Yes,
it's a different feeling.
I think you're already partly down that road to doing things you shouldn't be doing if that's what sexually excites you.
But you should still not be put in jail for that.
No, absolutely not.
Yet.
There's no pre-crime lockup. You can't be that way.
What the FBI needed here was Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC and Perverted Justice to step in.
Perverted Justice.
Like they do with To Catch a Predator. And I know people say that, that wasn't as right as it should be, but
there's a lot of entrapment going on there, I think, sometimes. I don't know.
And maybe so. I don't know exactly how those conversations go. If the pervert reaches out to you first, I don't think that is entrapment at that point. But maybe they should have tried to get Gilberto into a situation more and egged him on and see where it went. Because I know they have a ton of conversations with child predators online, but they don't go after the ones that don't show up to the house.
I think that was suggested on the documentary by someone, actually, that's exactly what they should have done.
And if it's just left to being online, then it's a fantasy. But if once you start showing up to the house or sending pictures and I'm not even sure what the pictures, but when you show up to the house, now there's that more intent, and there's something to that.
Mm-hmm. And the government just focused on the Google searches. I feel like the big one, it might not even be. I have a big problem with the blueprint thing with her picture on it and that stuff. But I feel like...
But there was false information on it.
Right. But I feel like that searching the police database takes it into, I would say, over that line. When you're talking about those women online and murdering them and raping them, and then you're searching their same names in the police database, that is where it gets...
But then he wasn't using those names in the blueprint, correct?
Well, the one girl, he knew her in college. He looked her up online too, or on the...
But he wasn't providing anybody else with that information, just himself. He wasn't looking her up, finding her specific details, and then saying, here she is. He was just using it to look her up.
Right. Yeah, like we said, he jumbled the information.
The police database thing's a big problem for me.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the
bigger than the other thing.
But that's the part of it because it wasn't like he was just sitting there bored, like, I'm going to fucking look up so-and-so I went to high school with. He was looking up the women that he talked about with these people online.
Yeah.
And I think that's
the biggest crime he committed.
And that's a major issue. And that's why I can see where the government's like, there's your biggest overt act to put in the criminal complaint.
I was just trying to clarify as to whether or not he then used that information to provide his co-conspirators with that. Because then that would, show more intent.
Yeah. I believe he kept the height and weight the same, things like that. But like in his mind, more identifying factors like where they actually went to college and stuff.
And last name and stuff.
Right. He never provided a last name.
I tend to agree that the sting operation maybe should have been in order here. Because the FBI loves to entrap people. They do it all the time. So why couldn't they?
Randy Weaver.
Yeah, or just terrorists, that like just some of these fringe guys are on, internet sites, whatever, and the FBI gets informants and they approach the person and they plant the idea and they make the connections and they buy the materials and they set everything up. And as soon as the person steps out of the house, they're arrested for the same conspiracy charge. But more than likely, if the FBI would have never approached this person, they never would have done anything.
Yeah.
So it was essentially the FBI's idea the whole time to coerce them into this.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying maybe they should have seen how far this guy would have went. I'm not even saying entrap him and set it all up.
I'm just saying they do this a lot. Like they could have.
Sure.
Yeah.
They could have done something more to, because they were just going on what ifs for this. Why not? I mean, because dates came and passed when he was supposed to be abducting these women and he didn't do it.
Correct.
So, yeah, I mean, you can't read the guy's mind. I think that's like the biggest argument with all of it, because
maybe he was just trying to enhance his orgasm by putting a date on it. Yeah. And again, it's still weird and creepy. And this guy is not a good human being.
So let's add a little. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and these women are going to be victims for the rest of their lives now. Their pictures have been posted on whatever these sites are, and they've been used to get off by everybody. And who knows who else is going to find their pictures.
I think my last point on it would be that I don't think it's a coincidence that everyone else that he was talking to got in trouble for taking things into reality.
I think that's fair.
But I also, in talking with these people, then they're probably the ones that took it further and further. And maybe if he's sitting there jerking off, chatting to them, thinking, oh, this is great. Like, these people know what they're talking about. Like, this is a great chat, or something like that. Probably because they were experienced in the business of whatever the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
I think an interesting postscript to this story is this guy is now an author and has written novels about this very stuff. What do you think about that, Mike?
Pulling an Issei Sagawa on that.
Uh-huh. So like his first book was... Sorry, go ahead.
Except Issei actually did
he was the real deal. Yeah. So his first book is Raw Deal, The Untold Story of NYPD's Cannibal Cop. So he's essentially embracing this Cannibal Cop moniker
He's
now.
probably got trademarks at this point.
Then he writes a book called A Gathering of Evil. Gil Valle, Valle, however we do it, the former NYPD patrol cop who rose to infamy, blah, 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 blah. But here's the story synopsis for this novel he wrote. It serves up a feast of gut-churning horror.
A feast.
Sarah McConnell and Jennifer Miller are two young, attractive New Yorkers leading seemingly normal lives. Unbeknownst to them, they have been targeted by a group of wealthy and violent sadists who meet through the dark web and share some rather unusual and deviant sexual desires, along with a desire to turn those twisted fantasies into reality. Marilyn and Bruce, the wealthy couple from upstate New York who have organized the event, have gathered this group of people from all different backgrounds and brought them together through a common bond. The lust and desire to kidnap a young woman and brutally end her life. The hunt is on. Will the prey survive this gathering of evil? That's the novel that guy wrote.
Sounds like he's just writing his own story there.
Yeah.
No.
And he has follow-up.
Dude, at this point, just ride off into the fucking sunset. Like, just be gone.
He doesn't have... I looked him up on Instagram, too. He doesn't have, like, many followers or anything. He's not, like, super...
Oh, he's, like, a legit still on there and everything?
Yeah, he's promoting his shit on there and stuff.
Second book, The Social Catalog of Prey, A Gathering of Evil #2, and then the Lake Tahoe 10 Killings. So he's all about it, man. He's a horror author now.
Okay.
Interesting. And Ian, I was doing a little bit of research myself while we were doing the show here. Yeah. I believe I've located Mike's darkfetish.com.
Oh boy.
There we go.
I think he's lying.
For the record, I'm one of two people sitting here right now that does not have a darkfetish.com account.
So, I'm not sure that's true.
Sure.
His name apparently is Horsecock College Mike 69er.
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 In all fairness, that used to be my AOL screen name.
So I located some of the posts he's made thus far on darkfetish.net. I would goo for Britney's poo. So I guess it's kind of into the fecal stuff on there.
Be one of the more innocent ones, I think.
I will eat your pussy better than Catherine Knight. Another known cannibal. So I don't know. I will choke you like the Steelers in a playoffs game.
Wow.
I don't know what that's all about.
I was a piece of shit that day. Damn.
And I will nail you harder than the Romans who crucified Jesus. So I like your posts on the site, Mike. That's really good.
That's a good one. Yeah. Got some good hits on those, too.
Yeah. Did Kevin respond to any of those?
He did not.
Okay.
No, I think he's into Ian only.
Yeah, it's not really up his alley.
Not for Ryan. All right. Well, that's that. Hold on. That was a different episode for us.
So are we universal in agreement that he should not have been convicted?
Yeah, I don't think he should have been convicted. But I do think he was on the path to actually carry something out in real life.
I have to agree with you. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that one day. We'll do a follow-up episode. Where are they now? Gilberto edition.
I don't know. I feel like I know it's not great to keep tabs on people necessarily, but I feel like everybody on Dark Fetish there should be a tab kept on this.
No, you're going to get kicked off now.
Including you, Ian. There's going to be a tab on you now, Palomino. So good luck with that.
There's some stuff I've never seen in my life, never even thought of in my life on there.
Yeah.
Like the guy I was telling you about earlier that had the car wires pulled out of the car and he was all tied up and had the car wires around his genitalia shocking him.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Can you post that picture?
I still have my account open, so I'm sure I can find him again. They were all BTK style too. You could tell he did that and then set up the camera to take them.
I think you should interview Kevin for a feature show. We'll follow up.
Fuck, let's get Gilberto talk about one of his book gimmicks.
You know what got me thinking about Darkfetishnet too is if I was horrified by most of the things that I saw in there and questioned if things were illegal or legal, I can't even imagine what is on the dark web, what is lurking around.
Oh my God.
Some of those websites.
I don't even like to think about that stuff. Like, fuck that.
There was one video that I always thought was like an urban myth of the internet, and then found out that it was actually true. And yeah.
What's that?
The Daisy's Destruction video of the little girl being raped and murdered.
Oh, yeah. That's
Don't want to
awful.
hear about that one.
People have requested to do that show. I don't want to fucking do that shit.
I always thought it was an urban legend, and then turned out it wasn't, and some guy got arrested for it.
People always request that we do stuff about kids. I don't want to fucking do stuff about kids.
That story is fucking gruesome, man. Like for real, like a fucking almost like a creepypasta. Like you read what the video's about, and it's like Jesus Christ.
All right, so I got nothing else to add to this one. Ian, what do you got?
I'm gonna delete my Darkfetishnet account tonight.
Solid plan.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's the end of it.
I feel pretty good about that one. Yeah. You're going to be getting emails for a long time, though, Pally, I feel like. Especially if they go the Ashley Madison route. And your email is going to get pushed out.
Oh, shit. How funny would that be?
God damn.
That's in Russia, though. The servers over in Russia.
Yeah. It's true.
You know that guy, actually, I forgot to put it in here. He said that he does Darkfetishnet as a hobby, that his full-time job, he owns an ice cream place over in Russia.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's not creepy at all when you're selling all that ice cream to kids.
But like big time ice cream, like he's a very wealthy guy. Some big ice cream company in Russia.
All right, Sergey, good for you.
The Ben and Jerry's of Russia, Dave.
Yeah, apparently.
Also,
Ivan and Alexandria, it's called. All right, Dave, you got anything else?
I don't. I said my piece on this guy. And I know people will disagree, and I get it.
This is a tough one.
It's a fine line.
I don't know. I felt really uncomfortable talking about pretty much all of this in this episode. Like, this was not a fun episode to do, really.
Different, though.
I'm just trying to look at it objectively and, you know, and that jurist comment, though, still pisses me off more than anything. You can't, I understand you're trying to be a good person. You think you are, but you need to look at what he's charged with and the evidence provided and whether or not he was guilty, not he's going to commit a crime. You can't do that. That would be
you can't.
Completely reckless in this country.
And I believe it's the same lady they interview on the documentary, and they don't do a really good job of blocking her out.
No, they don't at all. I actually brought that up when I watched it the other night. I'm like, you can really see that lady's face.
You could pick her out of there if you knew who she was. She's a bit of a Karen, and I expect nothing less from her on this.
Goddamn. Speaking of Karens, let's get to some patrons.
Well, that's quite a segue.
Thank you very much to new patrons Brad Can't Sell a Thing's daughter, Tanya Cummins, Lexi Smith, Garrett Reed, Leah Belcourt, Maddie Wethington, Percy Rittenauer, Alexandra Creech, Cyril Gray, Sarah Smith, Zoe Nunley, Andreas, Neil Meachern, Megan Wang, Quay Kuntz, Dope Snickers, Cinder McInerney, Minerva, Cheese Patty, Dylan Hankins, Joke About Mike's Room in College. Good one. Lita, Jinter Garcia, Faith Thomas, Jared Stevens, Elizabeth Long, Cassie Roll, Kirk Scott, Deb Barron, Bethany Lamprin, Brandon Dimmond, Jemima Ind, Zane Scholes, Joshua, Andrea Boki, Laura Knight Lucas, Ash, and Sarah. Thank you very much. We appreciate all of your support. Ian, what do you got?
For iTunes, I have one for Sam Townley, Holy Garrett, Lynn Mars, Not Pyro, and Eden F. Thank you guys for the awesome reviews.
Dave, anything else?
No, I just want to state that I believe it's Holly Garrett, not Holy Garrett.
Is that?
The person you just read. I saw that review.
Me or is him?
Him. Holly Garrett.
Holly, thank you.
2 L's.
Okay.
Thanks, Holly.
Usually
I got your back here.
Usually it's me getting shit for the names I read. All right. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Necronomipod, Amazon.com, search Necronomipod. And if you want the bonus content, we are at Patreon.com/Necronomipod. You will have to type that in because I don't believe we show up on the searches.
Explicit stuff doesn't.
Because we're explicit content. So you'll have to actually type in our name to find us.
I hope the FBI doesn't arrest us for thinking about things that could be considered offensive.
We have a lot of offensive things on this show. So anyways, thank you very much. We appreciate you all listening.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.